Good morning, YouTube. Let's hope that this camera turns itself on. Oh, there we go. So I hope everyone's having a good day. And let's get ready for another morning in these markets, another trading day, as we've seen that we've hit yet an all-time high, a new all-time high here on the S&P 500 yet again. After we cracked that 3,400 level, it seems that we just can't get enough of these new highs. So what we've done is we've rallied another 20 odd points into the overnight highs, hitting that 3,450. So a lot of analysts were talking about 3,500 into the end of 2020, and they may get that. A lot of those analyst expectations were met already in terms of looking for that 3,400 in 2021. So 2021 expectations were still 3,500 for a lot of analysts. So take it as you will. Do analysts know everything? Are they the best? I don't know. But let's say we just fell shy about a point and a quarter from that 3,450 level overnight, while Nasdaq futures failed to reach an all-time high. I'm just looking at it right now. Previous day high is 11,722 half. So we fell shy of that about 30 points, 32 points to be a little more exact, 11,690. That was the overnight high that we saw. Now, a lot of this was led by a lot of the tech rally. Nasdaq already seeing a lot of those gains. S&P just playing a little more catch up. So S&P 500 futures climbed 0.5% overnight after another record-setting session on Wall Street that saw the benchmark above that 3,400 level for the first time ever. So latest advances follows a discussion between U.S. and China trade negotiators, which is coming back into the light as we've seen time and time again beforehand, that this was a key factor in a lot of the S&P 500 changes, a lot of the market changes, the US and China deal, advancing, declining, whatever it is, it's going to shake up the market. So with both sides seeing progress on the phase one deal and committing to its success in their first formal dialogue since early May. So data complied by Johns Hopkins University also showed that new daily COVID cases are dropping under 37,000. They have been below, this is the first time they've pretty much been below 50K since mid-August. So while earnings are set to hit today's CRM, Salesforce, Best Buy, BBY, and Intuit, EINTU. So we've seen COVID kind of take a backseat to these US-China trade negotiations in terms of market movers. And that's going to be a very interesting little combination of the two in the coming weeks, coming months. So we're going to see how markets really react to a lot of this news, especially the US-China news. It's going to be a big player in coming weeks. So there are also big changes coming to the Dow Jones. So the industrial average is due to get affected by Apple, a huge part of the industrial average. It's 4-to-1 stock split coming soon. So this will significantly reduce the benchmark's exposure to the information technology sector. So ExxonMobil, Pfizer, and Raytheon will be swapped out for Salesforce. Amgen and Honeywell, marking the biggest reshuffle in 7 years. So we're going to see a lot of changes here. The moves are effective before the open next Monday, while the advisor used to calculate the blue chip index from constituents will be changed before then, so preventing any distortion. Soaring about 55% from its March 23rd low, the Dow Jones now sits just under 5% from its all-time high, unlike other equity markets that we've seen time and time again press into new highs. And US member, the S&P 500. So its all-time high was hit February 12th, 29,568. That is the Dow Jones cash all-time high. While in a lot of our recent news in terms of central banks and Fed announcements, we've seen Chairman Jerome Powell set to signal a significant policy shift during this year's virtual Jackson Hole conference. So including perhaps the Fed's biggest steps ever to goose inflation back up to a healthy level. So we will see if the Fed, or what the Fed does to make these rather large changes to the monetary policy, which will no doubt affect first the US dollar, that may make its way out of the world reserve currency. We'll see. And the S&P 500 or futures markets or equity markets, any equity markets are going to be shaken up by this. Now, average inflation targeting means the central bank will allow inflation to run higher than the usual 2% healthy growth target for a period of time. So if it's spent a considerable time below that, the goal could brand Powell's tenure at the Fed as the opposite of Paul Volcker's, who sharp rate hikes in the 80s built a recession but tamped down price pressures. So we're seeing the complete opposite, where Jerome Powell is actually pushing rates lower, keeping them lower for a long time. We'll see how the Fed dot plot reacts in the coming months, but we probably won't see a hike in interest rates for quite some time. Now, researchers at the University of Hong Kong say that they proved that the first case of reinfection of COVID-19, marking the first such documented case in the world. The virus strains contracted by a 33-year-old man in April while living in Hong Kong and August after he returned from Spain were clearly different, meaning that they were not a persisting carrier of the virus from his prior infection. The finding does not mean taking vaccines will be useless, says Dr. K. Wang. To one of the leading authors of the paper, immunity induced by vaccination can be different from those induced by natural infection. We will need to wait for the results of the vaccine trials to see how effective vaccines are. So again, some more COVID news. I know you guys aren't too big of a fan of that, but we've seen the first case that's been reinfected with a different COVID situation. Rather, it's not the lingering effects from the first time. Now, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers has decided that Apple will not be required to bring Fortnite, which it banned after Epic Games added an in-app payment system in violation of Apple's rules. So back to the App Store. However, she ordered Apple not to block the development and distribution of Unreal Engine, the tech behind Fortnite and many other industry games. So the ruling is just an early little skirmish, if you will, in a more significant battle that Epic, backed by Tencent, and Apple are fighting. So Apple, again, on the forefront. We'll see how this affects it, especially after this stock split. We've seen Apple hit above $500, being the first $2 trillion market cap company in the world. So just how many people are using TikTok in America? If we're going to continue with tech, we have to monitor this most recent potential buyout. Now, how many do you guys think people in America use TikTok? If you guessed about 33% of the population, or 1/3, you guys were right. So as TikTok and its Chinese parent company ByteDance sued the Trump administration yesterday over an upcoming ban, the fast-growing video app revealed specific US and global growth milestone for the first time. So TikTok has about 100 million active users in the US. So that's nearly 800% increase from January 2018. 100 million active users is just under the 1/3 mark, so just about 30%, let's say. So this figure, so notching a figure that would exceed the MAUs of long-established social networks like Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, according to research firm Statista. So given the growth rate, TikTok also would not be far behind Facebook-owned Instagram, which has about 121 million users as of last year. So concerns over, if we dial it back a little more and looking at some more global and again, China news, concerns over India and China relations continue to grow as tech production is the forefront of these troubles. India is phasing out Chinese equipment for its telecom network over an escalating border dispute in the Himalayan Galwan Valley. It's not a formal ban, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi hasn't made any public announcements yet to avoid a tough response from Beijing, but key industry officials have made it clear that local companies should not use suppliers like Huawei or ZTE. Let's do tough rather than talk tough, he says. So the FT report quoted a senior government official saying, the move comes after many Western companies have banned Huawei from supplying 5G equipment over security and privacy concerns. So it's not just the US that's battling China on this, it's also India, as they have clashed here. Now, in terms of other news, we should take a look at what's happening here in the markets. I'm just looking at the S&P in front of me. We've seen it pass through very pivotal areas like the R1 area from the pivot points from yesterday. We hit an overnight and all-time high of 34.48 3/4, and right now what we're watching for is a potential continuation of this upside where we'd have to break the tops. It doesn't seem very likely, though, especially off the morning. I see some early morning weakness that could bring us down even into that 34.30. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a nice little rally into the evening session. I'm just checking the volume here on the charts. 205,000 contracts traded, pretty weak on a day like today as we're coming into this US Open. So what I see this morning is some early sell-off, maybe take some profit. As long as we hold the 34.38 level, we're probably going to see some buying. Now, you break that level, we're probably going to see that shift to the downside yet again, get that early morning weakness, and then bump that thing up into the close. Should we start breaking a lot of these key levels under 34.30, we could see a lot more weakness than anticipated. But it just seems like buy, and we're going to be watching NASDAQ here very closely as it's looking like it wants to slip a little. NASDAQ at overnight lows, which could bring some downward pressure, especially this morning into the S&P 500 futures. So that's what I'm watching for this morning. I wouldn't be surprised to see early morning weakness, and you know how bull markets continue. Early morning weakness into late afternoon strength. We might see something like that as we saw yesterday. So hope everyone enjoyed this. Trade pros, and we'll see everyone tomorrow morning. Sorry for the late start, technical difficulties over the past few days, but we'll try to be back at it tomorrow.